Transfer deadline day is upon us. It's not upon us in the studio, Jason, because transfer deadline day usually means things are heating up, but I am freezing in the studio. You could hang coats from my nipples. It is absolutely Baltic, as we call it in Scotland. I can see my breath.
Before the show, and now you're saying it during the show. Nobody wants to see your nipples.
It's freezing. You don't want to see that. But
Francis, I made a chart.
I want to see the chart.
I made a chart. No.
Well, winners and losers I'm going to discuss.
Just a couple of players. I think I spelled Wilshire wrong. In terms of like the bigger names that have moved. No, this does not include the 300 friggin' names that have moved. However, Francis, I'm going to let you take it just after this. Juan Cuadrado was a very recent one that happened right before we jumped in. Transferred to Juventus. Yeah. David Luiz back to Chelsea. Martin Zindi to Stoke. Actually, Stoke was very, very active with Nasri and Boney also going there. Joe Hart, as most people knew already, off to Torino. Marcus Alonso, left back that Chelsea seemed to want, or I guess maybe need, off to Chelsea. And Jack Wilshere looks like he'll be signing on loan to Bournemouth.
So, yeah, the transfers will still be moving. I don't know where this chart's from. Samuel Nasri, Stoke fans did not get excited because Samuel Nasri did not go to Stoke. His awful hairdo has moved to Sevilla.
But my bad, everybody.
You got Stoke fans so happy, man. They're like, Samuel Nasri, when did he come?
Where did you get the chart from, Jason? I made it by hand. World, I made the chart. I did not take the chart. Yeah.
So,
crafted the chart.
If we go back to the chart really quick to get to please, Jason, I'm going to go through really quick when I say winners, losers, right? Juan Cuadrado, winner for Juventus. David Luiz.
Right, it's tough.
Winner. I'll give it a winner just because I like his hairstyle and I'll touch on why.
Let's stick to Chelsea for just a second then. Marcos Alonso and David Luiz, two defenders coming in. Chelsea looks pretty damn good right now without the activity in the transfer window. And also, I thought the most interesting case of the transfer deadline day was Diego Costa came out today and said he wanted to go back to Atletico Madrid. No deal was even in place or to be done. So he'll be sticking it out. Like a madman that he is.
It's interesting because he's had such a good start to the season already.
And a good
he seems
run
to look as if he's rejuvenating his form. The key to David Luiz, right, is if you get David Luiz in this Chelsea team and you get him in there with a sole purpose that he's there to defend and he fights off that Brazilian instinct where he wants to wander forward with the ball and move out of position, then you've got a decent player. This is a guy that won a Champions League with Chelsea. Now, I don't think he's worth anywhere near the amount of money that was paid for him in the first place, was sold back to at PSG. I think that he it's kind of been conned out of these teams that they've been sold a player that they're willing to pay this amount of money for. He's technically gifted as a defender. He can bang in a free kick from 40 yards. We know this. But I think he's decent when he's simply defending. He's by no means, I don't think, a starter for Chelsea. That's the big thing. It's people like, David Luiz, what a name coming in, big name. Don't start him. I don't think he's a start. I think he's in as a depth player. I think you're going to bring him in if Kurt Zuma's not performing as well, Cahill, John Terry. They seem to be doing decent at the moment. If he was going to go in to play as a centre-back, he's going to go in there as a depth player. If he plays defensive midfielder, again, they've got N'Golo Kante, they've got Nemanja Matic. Again, he'd be a depth player. So Marcos Alonso seems like a more of a immediate fit for me to come in and make his claim as a starting player for Chelsea. So if Antonio Conte is building depth, then I believe these signings are coming from him and not Roman Abramovich. I think that he's got a plan in his mind. He wants to make sure that in case anything happens throughout the season, John Terry goes backwards like he did a little bit last year. Gary Cahill's form goes out the window. We've got someone with a very noticeable hairstyle to come in and do the job.
Well, so what happens then with Alonso? Because I asked that question because if I'm correct, it's Ivanovic and Cahill on the wings?
No, Ivanovic, Azpilicueta.
Azpilicueta. So is Alonso coming in and starting at left back for Chelsea, or is it going to still be who they have currently?
I've got my flaws with Ivanovic, and Chelsea fans are very protective of Ivanovic. Very similar to the way that Liverpool fans are protective of Dejan Lovren. Ivanovic used to be, at one point at the start of his career, was one of the best one-on-one fullbacks, and so was Azpilicueta under Jose Mourinho's first term. Jose Mourinho's first year coming back. Ivanovic is a weakness. He is a liability. Players that can take him on the inside when he plays at right back role, he's not good moving onto his left foot. He's not good shifting inward. If you're bringing in a youthful fullback who's got the ability to come in and push him to play better or to take more pride in his position, also just to replace him, that's always a good thing. You cannot get mad at strong competition. some of the best teams in the world right now have a lot of competition.
I would agree with that. And Alonso's 25 years old, Spanish defender who I think is 6'2".
Yeah.
So he's got the size and stature to form with that back four with Chelsea. Again, though, I think these are, Chelsea's been active at transfer deadline day, and it's not that they necessarily needed to make a run at the Premier League title. They already have a lot in place that's working, at least with the midfield and the attack.
Yeah, if transfer deadline day fell before the season, then Chelsea fans would, I think, would feel more relief. They'd be like, thank God we got all the signings in. Right. But because the season happened, first 3 games they've got a perfect start. They're moving the ball well. They're like, all right, well, fine, we don't need anyone. We're good.
Well, it's like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But there's not enough sample size.
No, exactly.
It's only been...
It was broke last year, and they needed to fix it. But they made the best signing out of the Premier League in terms of necessity, which was bringing in N'Golo Kante. Matic had a great season, first term for Mourinho. Fabregas, a little wayward. It seems like Conte's trying to mature him back into that role. He played very well against Burnley. N'Golo Kante, for the price that they paid for him, what a signing that was. So Batshuayi up top seems to be working well with Diego Costa. Things are moving well, but as we know in the Premier League, it's very unpredictable. But if we're moving across seas, Sam Al-Nasri, Jason, who, despite his
not Stoke
not Stoke City's Sam Al-Nasri, his twin brother who's moved over to Sevilla. His hairstyle's god-awful, but this guy has talent. Sevilla seem to be building themselves an interesting team moving forward.
They really want that 4th spot.
They really want that 5th consecutive Europa League title.
Yeah.
They have Vieto, who I thought was a good signing from Atletico Madrid, who is on loan there. He will thrive, I think, has already had a good start to the season. Sam Al-Nasri is a technically gifted player who will thrive in La Liga. I always thought that Nasri was a good fit for an Arsenal team. He hasn't really hit the heights at Manchester City. Pep Guardiola sees him suffice the requirements at the moment, and that's why he's moved over to Sevilla. I think it's a good acquisition for them, so they get a win. If we go back to Jason's beautiful chart.
I guess I'm indifferent. I know. Oh, what a hot take by Jason on Joe Hart.
But that's what most people are.
I think what it came down to it is that Joe Hart was replaceable at Manchester City. Pep Guardiola has his system. You have to buy into Pep Guardiola's system if you want to win. If he feels that Joe Hart is not the right goalkeeper for Manchester City going forward, then I'm going to trust Pep Guardiola, a proven winner, over Joe Hart, who's not necessarily not a proven winner. He has a Premier League title to his name.
Yep.
And he's still, I believe, the English goalkeeper.
Yes.
Yeah. So going to Torino, for one, the Italian league does have it's a defensively sound league, so I don't know how well his captaining of the back four is going to be in a crunch-tackling, strong, back four-driven Serie A football.
I think that it's a safe assumption to make. What stands out to me for this is it's like a rushed move. It's like, I'm going somewhere else. I guess Torino are looking for a goalkeeper?
Hey, they had an Olympics.
I'll go. And the thing is about Torino, historically, they are more successful than Manchester City. That's the funny thing.
Okay, so
the Football Republic actually ran a video we can throw to it right now. But I think that's kind of grabbing the lowest hanging fruit. I think it's trying to make fun of Manchester City because they're not rich in history. Which team is going to help your career moving forward, Man City or Torino?
Do you know what Manchester what they're rich in? They're rich in actual money.
Yeah, they're loaded in money. And they will get success through that. But going to Italy, and it's surprising that he's not went to some of the usual suspects. Juventus, even though no one's replacing Buffon, AC Milan, Inter Milan, Lazio, Roma, Fiorentina, like Napoli. There's a bunch of teams there that you'd expect. Going to Torino, it's clear he's got one thing on his mind. He wants to play. He's not going to a team to try and fight. He's going there to play. And when you're a goalkeeper, there is nothing that you can do that replaces game time. Like other players can try and fight for their position and come on off the bench. How often do you see Buffon being like, 70 minutes, I'm tired, let's bring someone else in? No, goalkeepers are there to start the game and to end the game. If they're not ending the game, something's wrong. So the key point to think here is for Joe Hart's career, in terms of the club that he's playing at, no, it's a loss for the stature of the club, but it's a win for his playing time.
Yes.
That's the most important factor.
Good for Joe Hart. Joe Hart doesn't seem like a bad guy. Doesn't seem like a hated guy.
Good head and shoulders actor.
As the one true Ben Mankiewicz at one time hosted TYT Sports, I just don't know when, because it's been so long. I would say, oh man, Joe Hart, that guy gets laid.
He's going to get laid in Italy probably. If he's taking his missus with him, I'm not sure. But either way, one loss in terms of, one win for Manchester City, loss for his career is Wilfried Bony. So He's moving over to Stoke. Again, back to the chart. This chart is just, Jason, we can't get rid of this chart, mate.
No, it's a very convenient chart that I've created.
And by the way, I don't mean a loss in terms of Wilfred Bonney going to a team like Stoke. I think Stoke made some good acquisitions. So Martins Indies, we remember, Dutch centre-back playing in there. He's versatile at the back four. Good pickup for them. But Wilfred Bonney, for him, he moved from a team like Stoke to try his hand at the bigger team. And this is evident throughout many strikers in the Premier League. We have seen it in the past with Andy Carroll, who thrives better in a smaller team. Being the bride in that team, I think, it helps players like Andy Carroll, like Ricky Lambert, and like Wilfred Bonney. He jumped ahead of his time. He had a great career early on at Swansea. Manchester City took a gamble. What are you going to do when they play a system that benefits from a one-man striker? Are you thinking you're going to come in and push Sergio Aguero out? You need to be special to do that.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
For his career, it was kind of highlighting what we all knew, is it wasn't really going to work out. He was a versatile man. He was going to come in and maybe add a little bit of physicality up top. Stoke is going to be a better fit for him as a player.
Why is it always the bride and bridesmaids,
I
never
love
the
that,
groom and the groomsman?
I don't know, it doesn't sound as well. Like, I don't know why. Like, because if you're a bride, like, this is it. This is the reason why. When you're a groomsman, it's not like, damn, I want to be a groom. You're like, party, I'm going to the bachelor party, this is the best thing in my life. But girls have this knack that when they're a bridesmaid, they're like, I'm never getting married. I'm never the bride.
Oh, that's why.
No attention on me.
So
now,
fair.
does the analogy fit?
Yeah, now it does. No, now you've explained yourself very clearly.
I'm here
Thank
just
you.
to clear up some of these myths. Like I talked about one time, which was on our podcast, which was going to come up, is Donald Duck never wears clothes, but then when he comes out the shower, he has a towel on.
He's got to dry off.
Like, no, but what? He's got it round his waist. You just have it in your hand. You're not hiding anything. Myths by Maxwell. We can wrap this clip up. There will be more transfer deadline news, I'm sure, as the transfer deadline edges towards that last moment at midnight where transfers have happened, Jason. People have had to run. I have watched videos on Sky Sports of players running into the training room to sign the signature and get passed medically to try and get the transfer on that last minute.
I'd love to see that medical. Let me see.
He's fit. Get him in.
Go.
Get him.
Get him.
All right, hit us up. TYT Sports on Twitter, JasonRubin91, Francis_Maxwell. And we'll see you guys very soon. As always, right here, TYT Sports.